Hey everybody, before I get started, I just want to mention a couple of ways that you can engage with me on a more personal level. I have a few avenues set up and I keep focusing on one, and I figured why don't I make a short little video talking about all of them real quick before we get into these episodes. So first thing, Patreon. There's a link in the episode description and every episode description to the Patreon, as well as a video on the feed called Major Announcement that has all the details of what each tier offers and how much they cost. I implore you to check that out. I offer a lot of cool shit for my patrons. Second thing, the Discord channel. There's also a Discord link in the episode description and in every episode description. I have multiple channels set up there for each show that I'm covering, and it's a great way to just engage with me. I have a channel set up for MMA talk as well. I'm a big MMA fan, so if you're an MMA fan, you can check that out as well. There's a link to the Discord in the episode description. And then lastly, the Facebook and Twitter. Social media. Follow me on there. I post news on there. When I say news, I mean like, hey, I'm stopping covering this show. Hey, I'm starting covering this show. Let me know what you think about this. I do live watches of things on Facebook where like I'll check in and say I'm watching so-and-so show, and then I'll like live comment while I'm watching it, and that'll be cool if maybe you watch that show too and you want to watch along with me, or you're watching it later and you will see my thoughts, which are usually pretty entertaining because I'm usually pretty high when I'm writing them. So check out all those links in each episode description, and let's talk about this episode. Peace.
One mic, one mic. Yeah. All I need is one mic. One mic. Yeah. All I need is one mic. One mic. One mic.
Hey everybody, welcome back to One Mic, where I watch shit so you don't have to. And today I'm here to talk about the orange episode of Netflix's Kaleidoscope entitled 3 Weeks Before the Heist. So this was my 5th episode, and I gotta say at this point, I am starting to get a little bored with the episodes. And the weird thing is I can't really pinpoint why, but I found myself yearning for something different. I'm really wanting one of those like after the heist episodes, and those are my next 2. And I'm wondering if I'd be more invested if I had gotten one of those earlier, just to get something that's a little bit of a switch up, because it is feeling a little mundane at this point. And like I said, these episodes are, I don't want to say long, they're 40, 45, 50 minutes, somewhere in that range, but like they feel longer because again, you're not getting a lot of, there's not a lot of meat on these bones. You're just getting like facts. Here's what's happening. Here's what's happening. Here's what's happening. And you get a little bit more information than you had before. You learn a little bit more, but at the end of the day, there's just not really much to discuss. So these 50-minute episodes, I don't know, it's starting to wear a little bit, and I like to see something a little bit different. I can also say at this point, the season kind of feels like, rather than, a show that kind of proceeds forward, like, like a train or a car or something, that's moving, this doesn't feel like a story that's moving. It feels like a puzzle, like a stationary puzzle that starts off with no pieces. And each episode you're filling pieces in till you get to the end, and now you can see the full picture. And like, that's a different kind of design, I would say, for a structure of a season. But like, it doesn't, I don't know, that doesn't really work as well as that feeling of like forward progression, as opposed to just standing still and just like, okay, look over here, look over here, look over here, get a little information here, get a little information here, until you've looked at all the places and now you have all the information, and now you sit here like, well, I know what happened now. And then like, it leaves you empty because there's no path to lead you there. But I learn more each episode, but, at this point, like I said, I'm noticing the lack of character development because the show isn't working on telling me a compelling story about compelling people whose outcome I'm invested in because you've informed me on these people the whole time. It's focusing on making the gimmick work. And I think that's why I'm feeling a little, restless at this point. But this episode gives us some important information on Abasi. That's that crazy cop from the Green episode, the first one I watched. She was an addict back when I saw her earlier, when she was downplaying white supremacy and stealing prescription pads. She was an addict at that time, but now she's clean. She's been clean for 4 years, and she's got custody of her son, and that's a big deal because we also learned in this episode that Ava filed a complaint about her over the downplaying the white supremacy and stealing the prescription pads. And this caused her to get suspended. So they are, like I said that they had a history earlier. This is the history. So we know about the history now. We know how well they know each other, all that good stuff. So we found out that they got Ava's prints off of a shell casing at the Diamond Heist. And again, what if I got this episode before the Diamond Heist one? But when they questioned her about it, she explains that she reported her gun stolen. And I can't help but wonder why Abasi wouldn't have thought to look for that first. Like, I don't know. I feel like that's my first sign she's not a good cop, in that she brings someone in to question them, like, hey, we found your prints on these gun casings, without ever having checked, like, did she report her gun stolen? And I've seen this exact scenario in other films or in television shows, and I don't know why they keep doing that. Like, this is a thing that they just keep doing, apparently. But yeah, that's my first time she's not a good cop. She doesn't think to do the obvious. We also see Ava buying office space in the building with the vault that they plan on robbing. Abasi is spying on Ava, and she sees Bob at Ava's house. And she gets a call about some meeting that she's supposed to be at. She drives off really loud, and both Ava and Bob see her drive away. And I'm like, this is my second sign she's not a good cop. She can't even spy on these people without drawing attention to herself. Also, her like neurotic and reckless behavior is, especially when she thinks that she's doing something good, it reminds me of Sanvi on Manifest. Like, she's very Sanvi like. We find out that Bob has nerve damage and will likely never regain full use of his hand, but we see him give Judy the butterfly thing that he got his hand shot over. And we also learned in the previous episode that she likes butterflies because Stan gave her one that Leo made for, the soap one that I mentioned earlier. So we established that she likes butterflies, and we established that that's the butterfly that he got his hand shot over. And again, I am left to wonder, what if I saw this episode before I saw the episodes that had those two items? Would that scene have meant anything to me? Probably not. Abasi's little 17-year-old partner is spying on them, and he sees them together, the exchange of the bracelet, and he also sees Stan with them. This causes him to look up Stan, and they connect Stan to Bob and Judy because they visited him in prison, and they connect him to Leo because they were cellmates. Abasi then follows Ava to a meet, and we get our third indication that she's not a good cop because she gets caught trying to follow her. So she can't follow people either, and she ends up getting set up and arrested because she got drugs planted on her at some point. She bumps into somebody, so I'm guessing that's when they put drugs on her, and she's about to lose her son because of that. So three quick examples of how Abasi is not a good cop. Ava decides, because of this close run-in, that she's out on the heist until Abasi arrests her aunt. I think it's her aunt. She calls her Titi, which is Spanish for aunt, but I don't know. It could just be a term of endearment. But she gets arrested for some citizenship stuff, and Abasi essentially holds that over Ava's head, like, okay, I'll help you get her out if you become my inside person on your crew. And she essentially agrees. And even though I mentioned, she doesn't essentially agree, she does agree, because we see the aunt get released. And even though I mentioned in a previous video about Ava's suspicious body language and how she was standing all conspicuous and how I felt like she was the mole, and now we see Abasi is like, hey, can you be my mole? Now I'm like, Ava's not the mole. Or, no, Ava is the mole, but it's going to be like a double cross. Like, yeah, I'll let you know what's going on, and then she's going to feed her bad information or something like that. Like, I think it's going to be a double cross. Oh, and one real quick thought before I wrap this one up. I don't care about this little burgeoning sexual tension between Abasi and her little young partner. Like, unless he ends up being super important to the heist, I don't need that. Waste of time. Save it. So, that's all I got on this one. So I'm going to check out the next one, and I'll be back then. Peace.